Hey there, VC vinyl community. It's Mazzy here. And I want to do one more video before I leave town. I'm heading to New York for work for a week in Manhattan most of the time. But then I'm going to journey out next weekend to the Beatle Fest in Jersey City. Obviously, you know I'm a Beatle collector. I'm meeting a friend there and we're going to hang out there. So if any of you are going, reach out. So, morning. It's another one of my theme videos, and it's about one of my all-time favorite songwriters and interpreters, and that's Warren Zevon. To me, he wrote about Los Angeles like no one else. He's, in a way, sort of the Raymond Chandler of rock and rollers. So I'm going to go through my record collection. I saw him about 5 times back in the 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, I believe. And I met him once, which I'll share at the end of this probably. Tempestuous life, as you all know. You probably saw him as he was dying of cancer. And he announces it and talked about it several times on the David Letterman show. And then that documentary you should seek out. I'm sure it's on YouTube or you can rent it, about making his last album with people like Bruce Springsteen and Joe Walsh and a number of other people. And there's a great book that Christine Zevon, his wife, wrote. In fact, while he was dying, he wanted his biography, but he said Christine, his ex-wife, should write it. So what's nice about it, it's not just her interpreting his life, which is very tempestuous with his drinking and drug using and violent outbursts to a point, but it's formed with interviews of everyone in his life, from Warren Zevon to record company execs to other musicians who worked with him, Fleetwood Mac, Beach Boys, down the line, and it's put together in a timeline, and it's a fascinating book, great read. So anyway, I'm going to start with, I'm going to mix some CDs in because all his records didn't come out on LPs, and I think I have almost all the LPs except 1 or 2. But his first album, which nobody really knows, Dead or Alive, not really a great record. It was on a minor label. I forgot the label here because this is a Capitol reissue. Maybe it was Capitol. I don't remember being on Capitol. But anyway, I just need it because I'm a completist, so I have this. But then, I don't know if you knew this too, he's an amazing piano player. Warren Zevon actually was on the road for a number of years in I think the late 60s, early 70s, playing piano and being the band leader for the Everly Brothers when they were touring. So amazing piano player. He's also very influenced by classical musicians, sort of 20th century musicians like Aaron Copland and Igor Stravinsky, and if you know that kind of sound. In fact, if you listen to a lot of his albums, especially I think Bad Luck Streak and Dancing School, they have these classical string interludes that Warren Zevon actually wrote. He scored all the orchestral arrangements on his albums. So very talented man, kind of demons inside, but still great. Anyway, I'm going to start with the one you guys all know. This is what more people consider his first album on Asylum Records, his self-titled record. I was sitting in the Hollywood Hawaiian hotel. I was staring in my empty coffee cup. I was thinking that the gypsy wasn't blind. All the margaritas in Los Angeles, I'm going to drink them down. And if California slides into the ocean like the mystics and statistics say it will, I believe this hotel will be standing until I paid my bill. That's Desperado Under the Eaves, the closing song on this record. Closing harmonies are by, the harmonies in that which are amazing, they call them the Gentleman Boys, but it's basically Jackson Browne, Carl Wilson. This is like who's who of LA musicians. Fleetwood Mac, right in their sort of mid-70s heyday of that period of Fleetwood Mac, is all over this. This is Bonnie Raitt, Jackson Browne produced it. Just a great record. Mohammed Radio, Frank and Jesse James, Mama Couldn't Persuade It, Hasten Down the Wind, as you know, that I think Linda Ronstadt's covered 2 or 3 of his songs, naming one of her albums after a great Warren Zevon song. The French Inhaler, I'll come back to that later because that's sort of ties in with the way I met Warren Zevon. Anyway, this is a highly recommended one. Now, they just came out a few months ago with another Rhino reissue. I haven't heard it, only because the one I got from about 10 years ago, it's terrible. It's muddied. It just doesn't sound great in my opinion. And I don't know what went wrong, because that's really rare for Rhino. So I suggest, and you can find them pretty, if you don't have a Warren Zevon album, you got this one. The originals on Asylum are probably, I don't know, $7 to $15, depending on where you go, and but they're worth getting. Probably definitely his biggest hit was this with Werewolves of London. So in a way, some people look at him as a novelty act, because it was pretty much of a novelty song. And but still one of his great albums. Waddy Wachtel produced this one, and it's all over it again. A lot of the same people. Great rhythm section on this as well. God, beautiful, beautiful. Veracruz, great song. One of his longtime collaborators is Jorge Calderon, who actually was on his last album too, and he's the one who sings in Spanish on that song, and as well as Carmelita from the previous album. But obviously, Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner is a great thing. So again, very highly recommended. Then he kind of took a turn. Oh, this is a promo I got when I was in the record business. I'm not a big picture disc fan. I never buy them because I think they sound crappy, and unless it's like the Beatles or a band, I'm a completist. But I got this from the label, I believe. I think this wasn't for sale. Yeah, this was my friend in Asylum back in the day gave me this. You know, kind of a cool little thing, right? And his dark, violent sense of humor, as you know, that was on the inner sleeve of the second album, Excitable Boy, as well. So there you go, Warren Zevon. Werewolves of London. That's probably going to be on his, well, it's not on his tombstone, but that's the one that when you mention Warren Zevon to someone and they have no idea what you're talking about, you say Werewolves of London, they totally know it. Now, to me, this is one that didn't sell as well, but it's one of my favorites. Bad Luck Streak in Dancing School. And God, the whole record's, it's a gorgeous record. Again, somewhat underrated. This is the Friday Music reissue, which is actually pretty good. I still go for these Asylum first pressings. I think they sound amazing. But the interludes, again, as I said, the classical interludes are all throughout this. But Playing It All Night Long is a great song. Jeannie Needs a Shooter, which Bruce Springsteen wrote with Warren Zevon, is on here. But yeah, Play It All Night Long, it's that one where he sings the line, Sweet Home Alabama, play that dead band song. So he's really got a dark side to his writing. He can write the greatest love song, the greatest, tormented tug at your heart song, and just some wacky, the only person I ever know that wrote a song with the word brucellosis in it. So he's quite the lyricist. Then there's the Envoy. All his albums have gems in them. But I'm a completist with him, and I love everything. Ain't That Pretty at All is on here, which is kind of a wild, let loose rock and roller. When you saw him, if he did his rock stuff, if he got away from the piano, put his guitar and let loose, he was just totally high as a kite, but was just amazing. Great rock and roll as much as a great ballad composer. The Hula Hula Boys, the Envoy. Anyway, again, produced by Waddy Wachtel, Greg Ladany, and Warren Zevon. Another good album. Probably B- list in that respect. One of the great live albums, Stand on the Fire. This is when you want to hear these songs rocking out. This is the one to play. Just turn it up. Stand on the Fire, recorded live at the Roxy in LA. Perfect place for him. Then there's the best of Warren Zevon, and I'll kind of pull a couple of CDs here. No reason. It's just a nice collection if you want to get introduced. Again, I'd get that first Asylum Blue album first. And if you're into CDs, this is a great set. Double set. Has a few unreleased things and things that were singles. So worth getting as well. And of course, being, Asylum eventually dropped him, and Virgin picked him up. I remember going on a vacation, and this is when I had the CD Walkmans, and I was on vacation, and I think we went to Mexico, and I remember playing this album in Mexico, Sentimental Hygiene. Some synthesizers added because you have that 80s thing, but not overly done. This is 1987, so it's a tail end of that. So, Sentimental Hygiene and Boom Boom Mancini, great, great, great songs. Reconsider Me became sort of a staple, and other people have covered that one as well. So, Leave My Monkey Alone, where he gets a little danceable, not unlike Nighttime at the Switching Yard from that second album on Asylum as well. But Sentimental Hygiene, Virgin Records. Then there's some wilder electronical stuff on here, on this one, Transverse City. Again, Splendid Isolation. Every record of his has great songs. And in a way, you kind of wish he would strip them down, which I'm going to go now to the CD thing, and I have a special edition, because I would always, up during the CD heyday of getting those special premium things, you pay a few dollars more. But Learning to Flinch, this one. I think that's what the cover looked like. I don't think this ever came out on vinyl. If it did, I need to go through Discogs and look and see. But this is a tour he did. Obviously, the record companies weren't going to support him and a whole band touring around. So he did a whole tour, playing some piano, but playing 12-string guitar. And this album is full of 12-string guitar versions of songs like Splendid Isolation, Lawyers, Guns, and Money, Mr. Bad Example, Excitable Boy, Werewolves of London, Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me, which is one of the songs that was a big hit for Linda Ronstadt. So my guess is he probably made more money from Linda Ronstadt for covering his 2 or 3 songs than he made selling his own records. Roland the Headless Thompson Cunner, highly recommended, and I'm hoping that they put a vinyl version of this record out, because there's a lot of 12-string throughout it, but it's just really great. It's got a really kind of loud guitar sound, and he really belts it. I think it's intimate and very personal, but it's not a mellow record, even with 12-string guitar. But highly recommended. Learning to Flinch, Warren Zevon. And then we'll keep going. I'm at the end of my vinyl here. So that was a period of time where I wasn't buying as much vinyl, but a lot weren't coming out on vinyl. I gotta search this out again. In fact, I'm probably out of order here, but now I'm on to Giant Reprise. He kept switching labels, didn't he? You can pretty much understand why. But a Giant Reprise, which was a sub-label, custom label, and I forgot who was the guy who started that, but obviously someone with a big fan. But these 2 records, Mr. Bad Example and Mutineer. And those of you who know, during the time when Warren was sick, it turned out, I think he lived over a year longer. The doctors thought he only would have a month or 2, and he worked a year. In the meantime, during that year and a half or a year, he did that whole album. But people were covering his work, and including Bob Dylan would cover the song Mutineer from this album. Jesus was a crossmaker. He had these religious themes. He wrote about death a hell of a lot, even before he knew he was dying. But those 2. But again, I'm hoping these come out on... Now, talk about, having a vision of your mortality, these 2 records. And these were on Artemis Records, more of a smaller label. My Ride's Here. You know what that's about. Life'll Kill Ya. There's a great song on one of these. I think it's on, I forgot which one. So anyway, one of these, I'm not looking right here. It's called My Shit's Fucked Up. He went to the doctor looked at him and says, well, your shit's fucked up. My shit's fucked up. So he knew, even though he didn't know. He didn't, the Body of a Temple thing ain't gonna happen with Warren Zevon, but these are really great records. Just again, there's a song called Genius on here. Search it out, listen to Genius, and it's about, there's a great line, again, his writing again, about about geniuses, and it's about the ultimate genius, Albert Einstein. He goes, Albert Einstein was a ladies' man, and the lyric goes on, it says, he was making out like Charlie Sheen. Can you imagine a song with Albert Einstein and Charlie Sheen's name in the same song? But again, really amazing records, and I don't think these came out on vinyl. I got to search that out. But I'm going to end with, in a minute, his final album. But this, I have it on another thing, but this was a great song, a single he did called Hit Somebody, the Hockey Song. Hilarious song, because he wrote about sports figures a lot. Bill Lee, baseball, Boom Boom Mancini. So just an amazing topics that he wrote about that a lot of other people weren't writing about. But in the middle of this, it's about the hockey players, who really like to just hit people and the crowd goes wild. And in the middle, after every chorus, his voice yells out, hit somebody! And it's David Letterman. So it's a great, great bit in that kind of Letterman, the way he kind of talks and his voice gets a little high. That's my David Letterman impression. But anyway, the hockey song, and there's a great song on here for my next trick, I Need a Volunteer, which is from the Life Will Kill You album. But a great, great, great song, fun song. This came out after his death, again, and it's a lot of demos from those first few albums. Join Me in L.A., Hasten Down the Wind, mostly piano demos, Carmelita, on and on and on and on. I was in the house when the house burned down, so later too. But again, New West Records, a nice selection. I'd love these to be a record store day kind of a compilation. And then lastly, his final album. That was appropriate, right? This is the album he worked on, and it actually hit #1 the week before he died. Everyone's on it. Produced by Warren Zevon, Jorge Calderon. His son is a co-producer or executive producer. But people on it are... Oh, Hugh Bound? Okay, no, I'm talking to myself. Jim Keltner, Bruce Springsteen, Warren Zevon, Ry Cooder, Don Henley, Billy Bob Thornton, Dwight Yoakam. And everybody kind of came out for Warren on his deathbed. Timothy B. Schmidt, T-Bone Burnett, David Lindley, Mike Campbell, Tom Petty. Oh my God, hit #1, Emmylou Harris. It's unfortunate that you get a hit because you're dying. It's a great record. It's not his best record by far, in my opinion, but, a timely send-off for Warren Zevon. Anyway, Warren Zevon is like, you've seen some of the posts I've done, like Ry Cooder, like Randy Newman, hits a sweet spot in my musical interest, and I've followed these guys. But I'll close out with the time, 1978, Warren Zevon actually, there was a demo going around even before Werewolves of London came out on the Asylum record, and KSAN Radio in San Francisco would play the demo, and it was live with people, a lot of the DJs and a lot of the KSAN staff, and it's a great thing, and I have it on tape somewhere. And maybe you can find it. And he just adds these, on the very end, I saw Lon Chaney walking with the Queen. He just says all these different names, makes them up, and he kind of improvises. Every time he used to do that song, he would improvise the whole closing and go on. And it became a sort of a cult favorite. But he was at KSAN, and at the time I had a girlfriend who worked at that radio station in 78, 79, 77, 8, and 9. And she did the weekend 10 to 2 shift, Saturday and Sunday night. And I was there one Saturday with her. And Warren was there with the program director at the time, Bonnie Simmons. And they were hanging out, doing stuff. I don't know what they were doing, music stuff and hanging out and probably extracurricular activities. So I was introduced to him and I met him because it was kind of a quiet Saturday night. all the workers, aside from the on-air staff and a few other producers, weren't at the. So it's a quiet time in radio when it's 10, 11, midnight or something. And I got to talk to him a little bit about music. And when he walked out, they were going out to eat or to get some bar, like really late. It might have been 1 in the morning or something. And he said, "So long, Norman." Well, if you know that first album we talked about, the French inhaler, he caught Mailer. He said, "So long, Norman, so long, Norman," and blew a kiss. I thought that was the coolest thing. I was, 23 years old, something like that. No, 24 years old, whatever. And I loved Warren Zevon. He had those 2 first albums out by that time. And that was it. It's before we had cameras and stuff. So in a way, that was my Warren Zevon selfie, having him say, "So long, Norman." So I'm going to say, "So long, VC. Mazzy out. Bye."